So today I'm sitting at Wine Cafe as I prepare to interview Queen Iminah. Actually, she is Chief Queen Iminah. She is a woman of purpose. She's an educator. She is a recording artist. And she also is a cultural ambassador. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation with her here at Wine Cafe. All right, so I'm here with Queen Iminah, who is a recording artist, an educator, and a cultural ambassador. She is here in Ghana and she is on a mission. She came here before Queen Afua came to sort of lay down the foundation of the things that she's doing, and she has stayed behind to continue with the work that needs to be done to connect. Being a recording artist and an educator, we're also going to find out about her music and what she does to help educate young women, right?
Yes.
So which part of the U.S. are you from?
So I'm based in Oakland, California. That's where I'm born and raised. My family's African American and also Jamaican. So I have that African American side and also the African Caribbean side. And both sides of my family see our roots being in Africa. So this is a dream come true and like my lifetime goal to be here in Africa right now.
That's awesome. And so I'm sure, over the years, because I find that people who have Caribbean heritage tend to have more of that conversation of African roots, especially with Jamaica, when people talk about Rastafarian culture, a lot of people talk about it more. Did you find that your family had those conversations when you were growing up?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a second generation Rastafarian. I don't have locks, so a lot of people don't really realize that. But that's why my name is Iminah instead of Amina, how it's traditionally spelled and said. So my family is all about us really reconnecting to our African roots. And that was my mom's, especially her lifelong lesson was that, regardless of what they tell you in school, you're African first. Our ancestors did not ask to come here. We were forced to be here, and it's up to us to really reclaim and redefine ourselves and reclaim our heritage. And so that's something I was always raised knowing. And as I became an adult and just went through different journeys in my life, I see the value in it more and more each day.
And so through your life, that's fascinating because I don't often meet people who talk about the Rastafarian life growing up in America.
Yeah.
Usually the ones I know grew up in the Caribbean. Or even Canada. A lot of Canadians, there's a lot of Jamaicans who immigrate there and maintain the Jamaican culture. So with that, how did you balance that with your African American side and African American culture and history?
So my mom, when she was in college, she actually studied abroad in Jamaica in the early 80s, I think 80 or 81. And so at that time, Bob Marley had just passed away, Rastafarian culture was really being introduced to the world and the world stage. And when she came there, she just really fell in love and felt connected to Africa. She hadn't made it to Africa yet, but Jamaica just spoke to her so strongly. And so she really adopted the Rastafarian culture and really was focused on Pan-Africanism. So a lot of people in the African American community are really focused on Pan-Africanism, but it's not something that's really promoted in terms of how the mainstream media in America likes to characterize the African American community. So I grew up going to African-centered schools. My mom made sure to give us all African names. If people see my baby pictures, they're shocked because I've had on African clothes since I was an infant.
Wow.
I grew up doing African dance. She was always learning how to cook African food. We would try to learn African languages. That's even a big thing that Kwanzaa is about in the African American community, is us taking the time to recreate the foundational elements of an African cultural festival and a time for us to rebuild our culture. So for us, I call us born again Africans.
I like that. Born again Africans.
Yeah, we're born again Africans.
Like
So
that.
in the African American side, like we always really focused on that, and then also on the Jamaican side too. It's an interesting misconception that Jamaica is all about like Rastafarians, Bob Marley, Marcus Garvey's from there. So Jamaica has this like very African, Pan-African reputation. But actually when you go there, which I found out as a young adult when I actually started going there and seeing things for myself, I realized that Jamaica is very conservative and still very much under the British colonial rule and mentality. So there's a certain sect of Jamaicans that are in touch with their African roots and African culture, but a lot aren't yet. So there's also a gap that needs to be filled just in terms of Jamaicans as a whole, like seeing ourselves as African people and coming to Africa and really reconnecting. When I first came to Ghana, I was really shocked at how similar to Jamaica it was.
I hear that a lot.
Like it's eerily
I
similar.
hear that a lot. And I actually see the similarities too, because I've been to Jamaica, not over the whole island, but when I was there, I saw similarities too, like the buildings, the people, the way the food's done, people selling stuff on the road, and you know, when you went to the countryside, also I noticed the similarities there too.
Yeah, it's really like, and that's where my family's from. Is from St. Thomas, which is the countryside. And I mean, you'll see people selling coconuts on every corner. You see the markets. You'll see goats on the road, chickens on the road. You know, people
Plenty of goats and chickens.
Right. I mean, when I just look at the landscape here, it's like, whoa, just how everything is, and just even how people relate, interact, how they look, how they talk, everything is like very similar.
Yeah.
Even Sobolo, like we have sorrel in Jamaica.
Yes, they call it sorrel, but it's similar.
It's the same thing.
Hibiscus, yeah.
It's the exact same thing, except it's kind of stronger here, which I prefer.
They
I
like to throw in the ginger.
Yeah, the ginger, I love it, but just, you know, making fresh ginger juice, fresh pineapple juice, the mangoes, like, it's so similar. So I was immediately at home when I came to
When was
Ghana.
the first time you came?
I actually came when I was on tour in 2019. So September 2019, I was on a 13-city tour with the R&B group Tony.
Yes, they came here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I came with them in September. We actually had a show in Nigeria, and I've been going to Nigeria since 2017. We got our DNA trace and found out my maternal lineage is Yoruba Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
And I was already connected with the culture. My mom actually had given two of my brothers Yoruba names, not knowing this. And I also became interested in Yoruba spirituality, of which I'm a priestess, and I was recently crowned as a chief in March of this year in Nigeria, in the traditional community there. So being in Nigeria, you know, I was used to being in Africa, but I just hadn't made it to Ghana. So when I actually came to Ghana with Tony, I was like, oh, I see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah. Okay, so you are a chief. How did this happen? Because we don't often hear stories about women becoming chiefs. Usually they're like Queen Mother in African culture.
Yes.
So what is your story and how did it come to be?
Well, I say one, it's really my destiny called for this to happen. I was really surprised, and then I was also just kind of nervous when one of my elders told me that they wanted to give me a chieftaincy title. So I've been studying the traditional Yoruba religion, Ifa, since 2010. So when I really first, as a young adult, started making my transition, I call it from ghetto to goddess. And that's like my brand, that's my lifestyle, that's my story. In terms of us as Africans in the diaspora really reclaiming our roots and going back to our source and being our best selves. You know, being in the ghetto is where your life is designed for you to fail. Whereas being in the goddess state is you really reclaiming yourself, reclaiming your destiny, and really honoring your ancestors and being empowered to move forward in the future. So when I really started journeying and just learning more about African culture and spirituality, Ifa and the Yoruba spiritual traditions like really called me. And it's growing very popular now in the States and like around the world in the diaspora. As I began learning and growing, I had a goal of, before I was 30, making it to Nigeria to actually become initiated as a priestess and to really like authentically connect with my roots. In the course of that journey, we found out that my mom's lineage is actually Europe and Nigeria. So my mom almost fainted when she got the results. She was like, "You've been doing all this Yoruba stuff, and it's actually who we are," So that was amazing. When I went, I just became even more passionate about really opening up the way for more African Americans and Africans in the diaspora to learn more about our tradition and culture. And so when certain master teachers would come from Nigeria or come from other parts of Africa, I would be the one to organize lectures and just take things kind of out of the box and make sure that it was translatable and relatable to our people here, and just making people proud that we're Africans, that we have a rich history, we have a rich culture, and we have wisdom that a lot of people in the world secretly come and learn from. And we'll be running from it. We're running to other people that are really copying us. We're imitating imitations. So especially in my art, as I began to find myself on the world stage, I would always bring culture and tradition with me. And so the elders, especially in the communities in Nigeria, really honored that and really appreciated that. And so actually in 2020, right before the pandemic started, one of my elders, Araba Awodiran Bola, he is the Araba, which is like, you could liken him to the Pope of the Oronshoki Kingdom of Lagos, Nigeria. So that's a traditional kingdom that's been in existence for hundreds of years, like many traditional kingdoms in Africa. And so he is the highest spiritual priest of that area, and he serves the king of that area as well. So he actually contacted me and said, we want you to come to Nigeria for all your efforts in really like highlighting and giving our culture a positive light, bringing so many African Americans into it, and also making Africans in the diaspora proud. We want to give you this title of Gege Mento Awo, which Gege Mento means basically like the example that they want to see of a woman representing the culture, representing the traditions, and really being like a spokesperson for the people. So I was like, what? Me? Like, I'm, in my early 30s. I didn't necessarily see myself getting a chieftaincy title right now or being recognized. At that time, actually, my dad got sick with stage 4 cancer. So I, 2 weeks before the trip, I had to cancel it because he wound up being in the hospital, and thankfully, a year later, he's all good, thanks to him, living a vegan lifestyle and, eating it naturally. But then I was coming to Ghana this year, and then so they found out I was coming to Ghana. They said, well, you can't be in Ghana and not come to Nigeria. We really wanted to honor you with this chieftaincy title. Like, this is something that is meant for you. And so I actually went March 1st of this year.
Okay.
So March 1st was my coronation, and it was an amazing experience. It was amazing. I didn't know really what to expect. I didn't really have any expectations. My Oluo, my godfather, who is the Agbongbon Abo of Oshogbo, Osun State, Nigeria, Baba Fakaude Fani, he came, he traveled 5 hours to be there. Other high chiefs from other areas came, and they really, one, just affirmed what I didn't really recognize as my accomplishments, but they affirmed you're doing some great things. We see you, we appreciate you. We want to see more people like you coming into Africa and representing our culture in this way. And they also just gave me a charge of now that we're giving you this representation, you really have to now carry it with pride. You have to know that you're representing all of us. And, this is something that it's the beginning of you going into the next phase of your life. And you're going to continue to be a leader, and we want to see you do that in these ways. And so with that coronation, it humbled me greatly, and it also just, made me okay, now I want to be more intentional about really bringing more of us home to Africa and also authentically connecting. Because that's the thing too, is that sometimes people can just buy a chieftaincy title. They can just
People buy them?
yeah, people. There's been instances where some people will just feel like they're supposed to be a chief or a king, and they can go to an impoverished community, and the people will be like, "Yeah, we'll make up some title and give
Right,
that to you."
because they want the money.
Right, and they'll just take it. They'll get a crown. It's a lot of things, especially in Nigeria, that happens often.
Wow.
But something that touched me in mine is that everybody said, which I took as a compliment, and I was also like, well, the money's coming. But they were like, we're giving you this based on your character, not because you have money. And, your character is what led you to this, so keep having good character in all that you do. And that's something that I've seen to be a life lesson, is that, like, you just always have to do good and, like, do things from your heart. And whether you realize it in the moment, people are always going to see, they're always going to recognize. So they were watching me over time.
Mm-hmm.
They saw me growing over time.
Mm-hmm.
They saw me continuously, each opportunity I got, I would make sure whatever stage I'm at, wherever I am, I'm representing to the fullest, and that wasn't in vain. I didn't do it to get any recognition. I just did it because that is the kind of spirit I have, and I'm that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
But to get that recognition and that affirmation just like meant so much to me, and also to my legacy. Because now, for the first time in 500 years, my family has like that authentic reconnection back to Africa, to a real community, to the people. So it's just like, whoa, it's amazing. And then it's something I'm even still learning how to navigate. Like, I have started introducing myself as I'm Chief Queen Iminah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure a lot of people are like, okay, sure. It's the reality.
I'm just going to move this under your arm here. Yeah.
Right.
Animate.
Scarf.
It's okay. Looking fab. So I'm just thinking about the fact that you're a chief and you're a woman. Is this something that is unusual in Nigeria? Have people seen female chiefs before in that community? Or are you the first? Like, what do you know about it?
So from what I understand is that in Nigeria, most of the chieftaincy titles go to men, but they do also have some that are for women. So usually in like most traditional settings, they'll have the kings, they'll have the king's right-hand man, which is the Otun, they'll have the left-hand man, they'll have the person who's over war, the person who's over finance, and then they'll have the Iyalode, which is the leader of all the women. And if it's a really big community, they'll also have the Iyalaje, who's the leader of all the market women, the business women in the town. So that's pretty much how the structure kind of traditionally is. But as you continue to grow and things expand, the Yeye Mental Awo is a title that I'm seeing as I was getting it. I was researching like, okay, what does this actually mean? What am I seeing? And so that is a title that is given, and there are female chiefs in Nigeria. A lot of times they'll be the wives of chiefs. Sometimes they'll be more symbolic, but a lot of times too they'll be real leadership roles. So where this is the voice of women in the community, and I think that is something to note, that in African culture, even though there are a lot of patriarchal things,
yes,
and I've found, especially being here, like navigating as a woman, was the first time I really got to understand, like, oh,
yeah,
this is how. Oh, just because I'm a woman, I'm getting treated like this, or I'm not getting acknowledged, or people like I have to have a man speak for me for people to listen. I realized in America I didn't really experience that.
And I didn't experience it this way in Canada either. Yeah. So it's different.
Yeah,
it's different.
It's very different. But even within all that, there is more of a recognition and respect for women embedded in African culture than if you compare it to how traditional European culture was, where women had no voice, no acknowledgement, no rights.
That's true.
Like nothing. So in comparison, like Africa has done better.
Yeah.
However, we still have a very long way to go. for women to really get respect. I think for me, because I was coming from the diaspora and I already had access to a lot of freedoms and I already had the opportunity to be a leader in the diaspora, I think it made it easier for me to be recognized and respected as a chief in Nigeria. Whereas if I was coming like directly indigenously from that community, probably would be
a little more difficult.
Yeah, a little more difficult. But there were other female chiefs there that affirmed me, that also supported, but it was a majority, male chief.
I would love to know what your responsibilities are going to be now. Do you have anything that you are required to do in this leadership role? Especially because you're not in Nigeria full time, it's going to be a case where you're coming and going.
Right. So my main responsibilities right now are helping to promote the culture in the diaspora. I'm helping to keep things in a positive light, using my platform, using my voice to really represent, speak, and to just let people know that, there's a huge stigmatization that comes with African culture, especially African spiritual traditions. So really, using my voice, using my platform to continue to let people know that Black Lives Matter, that's one of my movements. That's actually, I think, when I started that movement and that hashtag, that got a lot of people's attention in Nigeria.
Sure,
because, it just rings a lot of bells. And I say, Black Lives Matter, our ancestors were not devil worshipers. And that's something that now I think that's one of my biggest charges, is to really put some force behind that. And I would see that as something that African spiritual traditions throughout Africa can benefit from, because if we don't take pride in our traditions and culture, who will?
Thanks for watching this episode of African Woman on the Move with Queen Iminah. Stay tuned for part 2 when we speak with Queen Iminah about her music career. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.